2016 is considered to be like a nostalgia year for a lot of people, especially if you lived in that time frame and you remember, man, like 2016 was a hell of a year to be alive. You look at sports, you look at music, shows, and professional wrestling in general, man, like it was a very good time to be alive and especially to be watching wrestling. And I believe 2016 was one of the best years WWE had in that 2010s echelon. Like you look at some of the years were hit or miss, like the early 2010s, 2010 to like 2012. In that time frame, that 3-year span, not really a lot of good quality to be watching the product, like fully or to keep up with. But then afterwards, like 2013 to about 2016, I think it was pretty decent. Like there were some pretty good things that happened within that time frame, and I feel like the product was at like a reset stage, during that particular time. But what are the top 10 best WWE pay-per-view matches of 2016, including NXT takeovers? Well, I'm gonna give you my 10 in order that I believe are in the top 10. Now, I'm not gonna count the Cruiserweight Classic because I really don't look at that as a pay-per-view. That was more of just like a network special, but they had a lot of bangers during that Cruiserweight Classic. Takeovers definitely 100% count as pay-per-views though, because that was NXT's biggest show, that was their pay-per-view. It was called Takeovers, right? So I'm going to give you my top 10 best WWE pay-per-views of 2016 in order. Before we start, as always, please make sure to subscribe, like, share, comment below, turn on all notifications to be updated with all pro wrestling things related right here on this platform, and to be updated when we go live every Sunday for the No Name Wrestling Podcast, 5 p.m. Eastern Time Zone. I truly feel bad for people that did not watch the NXT Black and Gold era like in real time. Like you can always go back and rewatch history, but to watch it in real time, you just knew it was a special era, and I feel like 2016 might be one of the most slept on eras for NXT in that time frame. And if you would like to see me do more top 10 rankings of best pay-per-view matches of any eras and years, let me know in the comment section below, or just any top 10s in general. We're going to start off this list at number 10 with a women's match, the first ever women's Hell in a Cell between Charlotte Flair and Sasha Banks. The women still had, stuff to prove at this time frame. They hadn't really stamped their mark, during the women's revolution to make it a full evolution yet. Like they still had a lot to prove, and the first ever women's Hell in a Cell was a monumental historical thing because we never thought we'd see women having a Hell in a Cell match. And in 2016, Charlotte and Sasha were definitely flip-flopping that championship back and forth on Monday Night Raw. Like, their matches were really good. I can't deny the match quality. They had some banger matches, but the constant title swaps between the two was kind of ridiculous. What made it even more funny and bizarre to me is that Sasha Banks could only win the championship and beat Charlotte on episodes of Monday Night Raw, but she could never beat Charlotte to retain the championship on pay-per-view. Charlotte would always beat her on the pay-per-views to win the championship back. And in the main event, the Queen Charlotte Flair defeated the legit boss Sasha Banks to win back the Raw Women's Championship. And I give this a thumbs up because I feel like this really helped stamp the approval to continue to have women Hell in a Cell matches, because if this had been a disaster, if this had failed on every aspect, they may not have done another women's Hell in a Cell match for all we know. So I'm going to put that in the 10th spot. I don't know if that was the best Charlotte and Sasha match of the year in 2016, but it's definitely up there. In the number 9 spot, though, we're going to talk about a Fatal 4-Way match. One of the most underrated Fatal 4-Way matches, if you ask me, that took place at Extreme Rules that year. Intercontinental Championship match between Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, The Miz, and Cesaro. This was an absolute banger, bro. As Sheamus would say, banger after banger after banger after banger, bro. This match hit like crack in the 80s, bro, because oh my gosh, the Fatal 4-Way match honestly didn't really have like too much of an exciting build to it, but the match quality, bro, chef's kiss. At the time, The Miz was one of the most important superstars of this era in 2016 to the product, because he was helping, revive that Intercontinental Championship to make it feel important and big enough again on the product. Cesaro, I feel like a lot of people still had high hopes that he would get some type of push on the main roster to feel more valuable, because they had been crossing their fingers for him to kind of get a push for years. And then Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn were newly fresh up from NXT still kind of, and we already knew the history between the two. So this match honestly was well put together. It's honestly one of the best Fatal 4-Way matches you could ever watch. Shoot, now that I really think about it, this is one of the best Fatal 4-Way matches that does not get love or talked about enough. People need to start putting more respect on this Fatal 4-Way match, because this match is highly slept on. Let's move on to the number 8 spot though. We're going to go back to WrestleMania 32, the match that I thought was the best match on the show, and I'm not talking about the ladder match. Now, the Intercontinental Championship ladder match that Zack Ryder won that night was a good match. That could be, in the conversation to be the best match on that show, but to me, the best match on WrestleMania 32, which was not an overall great WrestleMania, but the match that stole the show, was the women's triple threat between Charlotte Flair, Becky Lynch, and Sasha Banks. Once again, the women still had a lot to prove at this time frame, that not only they could hang with the man, but go out there on a WrestleMania and steal the show, and I feel like they did just that. This is when they retired the Divas Championship, the Butterfly Championship, and brought in the the new version of the current Women's Championship, which is no longer the Raw Women's Championship, but still has, the same kind of similar design with the Women's Championship right now. All they did was just take out the red or the blue and just stop naming it after the brand and just made it gold. Like WWE's championship designs are just poorly lazy nowadays, but I digress. Now, even though Charlotte Flair won, I wasn't mad at it. I'm not trying to be a hater right here, but I definitely feel like this was Sasha Banks' match to win to kind of really stamp her on the women's roster as their top women's superstar, because she had all the credentials and tools to be that. She had the swagger, she had the character work, she had the movement, behind the people that really believed in her and everything, but they were hell-bent on making Charlotte a star, which is understandable because she's super talented as well. But even though I necessarily didn't agree with the winner, this match was absolutely fire, bro. This triple threat match was incredible. I truly believe this was the best match on WrestleMania 32, so I'm going to put that in the 8th spot. At number 7, one of the longest matches of the year, one of the longest matches in Survivor Series history, but it's one of the best, traditional Survivor Series tag team matches you will ever watch. The men's traditional Survivor Series tag team match in 2016 definitely was fire. Now, we obviously know now this match was so long because the main event was Brock Lesnar versus Goldberg in Goldberg's first match back in 12 years, which ended up being a squash match to help make Goldberg feel like a credible threat and a monster again, which told a bigger story going into that WrestleMania, so we understand that aspect. But this is when they brought back the Raw vs. SmackDown concept. The only time they ever did Raw vs. SmackDown before this was in 2005, and that's honestly one of the best, traditional Survivor Series tag team matches as well. So bringing it back in 2016 honestly had an exciting feel to it. And the superstars they had in this match, Chris Jericho was one of the most popular stars they had on the roster at that time frame, doing the stuff with Kevin Owens. Roman Reigns was still very polarizing and controversial. Seth Rollins had been one of their top stars. Shane McMahon hadn't felt stale to the product yet, and dry. He had just come back, so people were still excited to see him wrestle. Like AJ Styles was their top champion, one of the best superstars on the roster, had one of the best rookie years as a whole in 2016. So this match had everything you could ask for. Randy Orton also being with the Wyatts, like that was a cool aspect too, bro. Like this match honestly had good storytelling, good superstars involved, and great match quality. And this is not crazy to say. I actually think this is a simple fact. When you're talking about the best traditional Survivor Series matches of all time, this is in the top 5, without a question. So in the 6th spot, I was really struggling where to place this match, whether I wanted to place it at number 6 or 5, but I'm going to put this at number 6. Battleground 2016, Sami Zayn versus Kevin Owens. Man, this was their best match they had in WWE, but the previous match they just had at the Elimination Chamber this year, that might have surpassed it, but this is still up there. Wrestling soulmates is a real thing, and Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn are wrestling soulmates even before they even got to WWE, going back to their days in Ring of Honor, bro, as El Generico and Kevin Steen. Like, my gosh, bro, these two, I don't think they could have a bad match. I truly don't think they can. This was also a very big win for Sami Zayn to prove that he could beat somebody like Kevin Owens, who was kind of like the bully in the storyline, and Sami Zayn being the underdog from the underground, which for some odd reason, he's still kind of playing that similar character. Like, Sami Zayn still being an underdog, like, many years later after accomplishing a lot of the things that he's done is kind of wild. But, at this particular time frame, it made a lot of sense for Sami to portray that character because he still really hadn't accomplished anything. And if you watch the stuff that they did in NXT and how Kevin Owens pretty much destroyed Sami Zayn, it made a lot of sense for Sami to be built up that way. And then having that big win over Kevin Owens in the match they had, bro, this was a masterful match, bro. Like, this could rank higher, but there are matches that I'm going to place above it. In the 5th spot, I could have put Sami and KO here, but I got to put Dolph Ziggler and The Miz. Not only do I feel like this match was a little bit better, but it definitely had a better story going into it. Like, I'm honestly thoroughly shocked this did not main event No Mercy in 2016, especially when the WWE Championship opened the show, bro. This should have been the main event of the show. This had the best story going into that show with like so much unpredictability behind it. I already had mentioned The Miz's importance to WWE in 2016. That SmackDown Live era was really good. Like, that was a really good time period of SmackDown, and The Miz helped rejuvenate the Intercontinental Championship to make it feel just as big as it needed to be important again to the product. You could even say he made it bigger than the WWE Championship. That's not crazy to say. And this was another opportunity for them to strike with the iron hot on Dolph Ziggler to help propel him up from here to make him a bigger star, bro. He had been one of the best bell-to-bell in-ring wrestlers in the company for a long time at that point, and finally, once again, got the fans behind him to where they believed, keyword, believed in him to finally propel him even further. And this was the perfect story. Dolph put his career on the line to get one more opportunity to beat The Miz to become Intercontinental Champion. That's how important the Intercontinental Championship was in 2016 and all the hard work The Miz had put in to make that championship feel prestigious. Of course, Daniel Bryan, being the SmackDown general manager at that time frame, and The Miz having one of the most epic promos ever in that time frame on Daniel Bryan, and snapping, about being the Intercontinental Champion, the best champion he had felt, and not being a part of the show. And then, man, at No Mercy, they tore it down. They even brought back certain members of the Spirit Squad to be a part of this story. Like, man, the unpredictability going into this match, bro. The crowd just gasping every time you heard the 1-2 kick out. 1-2 kick out. Like, man, the false finishes were crazy. And then Dolph Ziggler beating The Miz to keep his career and win the Intercontinental Championship. They had something special with Dolph Ziggler once again. And they fumbled it on every aspect, because what did they do with Dolph Ziggler after this monumental historical win and great story build-up? Nothing. Zero. Nada. Like, I just never understood how they messed up Dolph Ziggler so many times when they had so many opportunities to really kind of stamp him, in WWE as one of their top stars. But we move on to the number 4 spot. Extreme Rules, Roman Reigns versus AJ Styles for the WWE Championship. A lot of people like to downgrade the big dog Roman Reigns because of maybe how he was booked and everything, or his past promos like Suffering Succotash, the Magic Bean promo, which is by far worse than Suffering Succotash. I understand that aspect. Like, we all get that Roman Reigns was never going to be the next top babyface like John Cena was in that position. Even though WWE fully saw him in that limelight, the fans were never going to accept Roman in that limelight. But if we keep it at 100, Roman Reigns has always been good in the ring. He had bangers back then, even when he was the big dog, and this is one of the bangers right there, bro. Him and AJ Styles actually had 2 good matches that year. The first one at Payback, which was also a really good match, but their match at Extreme Rules with that build and everything that happened afterwards too, with the Seth Rollins return from injury and everything, this is honestly one of the best matches of the year. I was kind of torn in this match as a fan, I'm not gonna lie to you. I was never a Roman Reigns hater. Roman was my favorite member of the Shield. I never disliked Roman even when he was the big dog. I fully understood why certain fans didn't like Roman, but that never changed my fandom. I honestly rocked with Roman Reigns. I thought he was good. I saw the superstar potential, but being a fan of also the phenomenal one, AJ Styles, seeing his peak in TNA and being a big TNA fan growing up as a kid, a part of me definitely wanted AJ to become WWE champion that night. But this was a spectacular match, especially, with the OC getting involved and everything, and then the Usos playing a part as well. And like I said, Seth Rollins coming back from injury, which a lot of people at that time frame still were rocking with Seth Rollins more than Roman Reigns. So when he came back and pedigreed Roman in the middle of the ring, and we all kind of felt that energy and that big return feel, like, yeah, WWE's cooking right now. Now we're in the top 3. For my third match of the year, pay-per-view wise, I gotta go with NXT, the first NXT TakeOver match I'm going to put on here. Sami Zayn versus Shinsuke Nakamura, and Shinsuke Nakamura's debut. So if you weren't following New Japan Pro Wrestling at this time frame, Shinsuke Nakamura had been one of the best, Intercontinental champions in New Japan at that time, and had been one of their best stars at that time frame. And for him to leave New Japan to come over to WWE at that time frame was a really big deal. And we knew Sami Zayn was on his way out of NXT, and he had been their biggest babyface in the men's division for quite some time. Now Shinsuke was going to fill in that role by making his debut coming into NXT. This honestly was a match made in heaven. NXT TakeOver Dallas overall was a good show in general, if you ask me, but the atmosphere was great. The crowd was electric, bro. The chemistry these two had this night off the charts. Like, this match had everything you could ask for. Sami once again being on his way out, Shinsuke coming in, bro. Like, this was just beautiful, man. Like, you knew Sami Zayn probably was going to lose this match, but nobody really cared that maybe it was that predictable. Like, bro, the match was spectacular. It's so sad to see where Shinsuke's at right now, too, bro, because Shinsuke Nakamura won 1,000%. 1,000% is one of the biggest babyface fumbles they've ever had in the company's history, especially in the last 10 years of WWE, bro. Like, this guy was getting rock star-like ovations in WWE. For him to go from one of the biggest babyfaces in the company, who had so much potential to be a top main event star, and I don't care if his English was lackluster, you can miss me with that. Triple H already proved that he could book Shinsuke just fine at NXT with his English being very limited, so why couldn't they do it on the main roster? There's no excuse for it. Shinsuke Nakamura is one of the most wasted Royal Rumble wins of all time, bro. They gave him the Royal Rumble win for what? Just to go to WrestleMania and lose for nothing and turn heel? Like, for Shinsuke to go to being one of the biggest baby faces in the company, to being a superstar now who has zero aura, and honestly, if he misses the show and he's not a part of the product, people genuinely don't even care anymore. Sad is an understatement. This is just straight up depressing. Let's move on to the second match, man. We're going to talk about DIY versus the Revival. TakeOver Toronto, man. 2 out of 3 falls match. One of the greatest tag team matches you will ever see. DIY and the Revival, bro. The chemistry these guys had, bro, was just spectacular, man. And tag team wrestling started to feel cool again in WWE because NXT was making it cool again by building up their tag teams and making their tag teams feel relevant. And the match quality the tag teams were having, oh my gosh, bro. Like, this 2 out of 3 falls match, like I said, I'm not even kidding. If you haven't seen this match, you need to go watch it. TakeOver Toronto 2016. It is literally one of the greatest tag team matches you will ever witness. Both teams still being together now. Like, DIY is still one of the best bell-to-bell in-ring tag teams right now. Their presentation may not be as good as it was, previously back in 2016, but they can still go. And, FTR now, they've been one of the best tag teams on the planet for, the last few years. So, man, I would love to see these two have another match together again. Like, if we ever get DIY versus FTR again, instant classic, bro. Instant classic. I'm 100% sure of that. DIY versus FTR could have been in the number 1 spot, but I gotta give the number 1 spot to me, the best WWE pay-per-view match of the year. John Cena versus AJ Styles at SummerSlam. This, I honestly also feel, is better than the Royal Rumble match. Now, the Rumble match, you could say, is better than their SummerSlam match, and I won't argue that, but I give a slight edge to their SummerSlam match. We talked about AJ Styles' rookie year a little bit ago, but this is part of it, man. For him to go into a match with John Cena at SummerSlam, one of their biggest Big Fours of the year, and actually get a clean victory over John Cena in 2016 was a huge deal. This was the match that really told us that AJ Styles was going to be pushed as one of their big superstars in the company, because when he first debuted, at the Royal Rumble, we weren't really sure how they were going to treat AJ Styles. Some people thought he was going to be a mid-carder. Some people even thought he was going to be buried. And he had beat John Cena previously at Money in the Bank, but that was due to interference and everything. But he got a clean 1-2-3 victory over John Cena at SummerSlam. That told you everything you needed to know about WWE believing in AJ Styles right there. They fully were on board with pushing him, and it was a great thing to see. Because I was going into this match thinking John Cena was going to win. I'm not going to lie to you, but this match, honestly, I think is the best match of the year for WWE in 2016. Like, this is one of the best matches of the last decade, I believe, bro. And they had 2 bangers. The Rumble match was really good as well, so I won't dispute if you put the Royal Rumble match in 2017 over their SummerSlam match in 2016, but I give a slight edge to the 2016 one for what it meant for AJ to actually win this match and what it did for AJ afterwards. This is one of the best SummerSlam matches of all time. This is a top 5 SummerSlam match ever to me personally. This is my full list right here of the best WWE pay-per-view matches in 2016 to me. You can see the full list right here underneath me from 1 to 10. Let me know how you feel about it, if you personally agree or if you personally disagree. There's probably some things maybe you could tweak and maybe the orders, but I feel like these 10 matches are very solid. If you feel like there was a match that got snubbed off this list, also let me know in the comments section, man. Appreciate it. Make sure you guys subscribe for the video. Be on the look for more wrestling content on this channel. If you want to check out actually more wrestling content on this channel right now, you can click the video right here. If you want to check out the No Name Wrestling Podcast, you're in luck because you can click the playlist right there to check out every single episode.